We are 1 week closer to the playoffs. We are days closer to possibly seeing a team lift the Players' Shield. Welcome to another episode of League One on the Rocks. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. That is Brian. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. I don't have any like stories to tell at this part like I usually do today. But yeah, doing good. Glad to be doing the podcast and I mean, it's an especially good time when the team that I like is on the brink of securing that player shield. So
Yeah, days away, possibly days away.
possibly days away.
Yeah. So, how are you feeling leading up to this possibility?
I feel about how I normally do about League One. I'm excited to see all the rest of the games as well. Um, Obviously, bigger implications for the Union Omaha match, and I would love to see them win it this weekend and not have to wait and worry until the home match next weekend. Plus, if they win it this weekend, I know I texted you this earlier, but a guard of honor coming out would be kind of cool. It won't happen, but one can dream.
Yeah, I so obviously you and I are Premier League fans.
Mm-hmm.
Um and a guard of honor is an esteemed tradition that you see in the Premier League, but we haven't seen that. I don't think we've even seen that in the MLS. Like we certainly haven't seen it in
I don't think so.
USL.
Right.
I think League 1, I agree with you. I think League 1 should, be the one to start that tradition in America. I fully support it. I think it's a great way to honor the team who went the distance and won the Shield. I think it's a great thing.
It could be. Maybe maybe we'll have to make it down to the meetings the next time they come around and pitch that idea.
Yeah, two guys standing outside with handheld signs and give us a guard of or honor guard or whatever.
Yep, I think it'll totally work, and it's not at all because I want to go down to Florida and just have a vacation.
Yeah, I hear Tampa is a great place to be this time of year.
I'd assume so.
Oh, that's a terrible joke. I shouldn't have said that, especially with like Milton that just went through. I apologize for making that joke. That was bad. Yeah, sorry
I didn't
everybody. That
I didn't
was
think
that was
about it either.
insensitive. Yeah, that was insensitive. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Um, well, do you have anything to drink tonight?
Um, I had a real late dinner, so I'm still finishing up the soda that I had from it. So had to get
Yeah,
Runza, Midwest staple. Everybody that's not in the
there you go.
Midwest doesn't know what that is. So
Yeah, cool. All right, I'm gonna throw it to you. I don't think I've ever done this on the show tonight, but I'm gonna give it to you. Which one would you like me to drink tonight? We got the Four Roses and the Angel's Envy.
let's go with the Four Roses.
Four Roses, cool. Good choice.
Four Roses. I like the logo. I like everything about it. I have yet to have it though. That is the only difference. Hear
Well,
the
that's a
nice pour there.
it's a big pour. Yeah, that'll be a good one for tonight.
Sorry to those that need to go to the bathroom while watching. I mean, probably just got that all.
That ASMR was not the sounds that you were looking for.
No. CJ, I actually didn't choose. My son wanted Runza tonight. My daughter, oddly enough, didn't. She wanted me to make her a Totino's pizza, so I did that
Yeah.
and got the boy and me Runza. I did give her my French fries though, so she did want French
Cool.
fries.
Well, everybody, we have a big show tonight because we're going to be talking about all the League One action that's going to be coming up starting Saturday evening. We also have another match on Sunday evening, um, but we have some pretty big stuff to be tracking in these matches this weekend. We have elimination scenarios. We have um, player shield watch. We're on high alert there as well. So, I mean, this is a big moment. I mean, still looking at the standings, third place through fifth place, even sixth place is only separated by 2 to 5 points. So,
Hmm.
I mean, there's still plenty of movement that's going to be happening or potentially happen in the standings this weekend. So it's going to be an exciting slate of League One action, and man, let's get it going.
I like it.
So let's see here. Not a whole lot of news going across the League One landscape. We did have news that was announced earlier today out of Texoma. So let me get over to that screen here um, because Adrian Forbes has been named both the sporting director and head coach for Texoma FC for the 2025 season. Um, I think it was months back he was announced as the sporting director, but they'd been on the lookout for a head coach
Yep,
and ultimately decided with Adrian Forbes. So, I mean, obviously he has the history and the pedigree to lead them.
definitely.
So it's going to be fun to watch him along the sidelines next season.
Yeah, it'll be. It's nice when you see teams moving this early to get guys signed in. Head coach, obviously, huge part of your team. He's got to scout and build his team. So the earlier you can get somebody on that, the better off generally they're going to be. But um, either way, I mean, it's great. It's great to see these teams coming together, and this next season with even more teams coming in is going to be even better than it has been. So looking really good for next season plus the end of this season. I mean, it's going to be a roller coaster ride because this offseason is going to go by so quick. I have a feeling that we're going to blink and it's going to be time for another season to start.
Yeah, and he seems like a really fun person. They had a video posted on their social media earlier this week where they had people of the front office sign pictures from years back. It's sort of that
Nice.
trend that's going on
Yeah.
right now. And when they had Adrian Forbes sign his picture, it was when he was sitting at the wheel of a bus. I think he was wearing a Norwich polo, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. Um, but it was funny to see his reaction. I mean, he owned it. It was cool. You know, some people like try to hide the picture and run away with it or something like that. He owned
Yeah.
it, man. It was cool.
You got to. I mean, it is a picture of you. So, I mean, nothing you can do but smile, right?
Yeah. Well, moving beyond that, not a whole lot of action. We did have some announcements made for, um, goal of the week, player of the week, and all that kind of stuff. Ford Madison's Aiden Macias was the winner of the goal of the week um, for his goal against Chattanooga when he was dancing in and out as he entered the 18 box. So that was a quality goal.
Yeah, I agree. Well
And
deserved.
then And then we still have voting going on for save of the week. Still four candidates there. Um, Trying to look and see if there's anything else going on here, though. I think Liam McKinnon was announced for, yeah, he was player of the week for his brace. Ooh, who did they play last week? Spokane.
Yep.
And he has retaken the lead for the Golden Boot, didn't he? I think he's up
I
there.
but I would have to look back at it. I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
I'm on it.
What a guy.
Yep, he has 14 goals. Obregon out of Charlotte has 13 goals. And then the closest beyond that is a three-way tie with 9 goals. Rupapa Mensah, Kempis Tequila, and Pedro Dolabella.
Man, Pedro.
Um,
If Pedro
Pedro,
wasn't suspended for what 5 of the games, it'd be interesting. I think that race would be a little bit closer, but
he's been suspended for 5 matches
I
this
I
season.
don't know exactly if it's 5 it feels like 5 matches, but it might only be like 3.
Jeez.
But either way, man, that can't be doing that. You definitely lose a Golden Boot race doing that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Okay, so looking at the last five and the last three matches, the results from those,
Hmm.
I like to keep track of all this kind of stuff. We talked a while back about how the month of September going into October was going to be a big one for both One Knox and Spokane.
Hmm.
We saw Spokane live up to uh, the task because they went up against some tough teams in that time and came away with uh, some good points in that span of time too. I'm trying to pull up some of the stats here really quick, but on the other hand, Spokane was not as fortunate during that same span of time. So looking back at One Knox, um, toward the end of September, they had an away trip to Union Omaha where they did lose 1-0, but then
Yep.
they had subsequent matches like they hosted Ford Madison, they went to Chattanooga, they hosted Fuego, um, and they remained undefeated through those three matches. Now they have this match where they go to Ford Madison this week, so this is another attempt from them to really showcase the fact that there should be no doubt about them being a playoff team, about being on the threshold of being a top four team as well,
Hmm.
because they're on that threshold at the moment.
Yeah,
They're sitting
there's.
in fifth place by 1 point.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be super tight. I think there's a lot of these teams here in the center that are gonna be. This is gonna be the most interesting race for me for the last 2 weeks, the actual seeding race, because you know that these teams are gonna be going all out to try to get that home first round home match, and then pending what happens in the rest of the playoffs, because you never know. You get the fourth seed and you get a first round home match. You might not be hosting the second one, but you're definitely hosting, the final if everything goes your way. So you want to be in that top half, and I think everybody's going to be trying to gun for that for sure. Um,
yeah,
which unfortunately brings about what Spokane has done in the last five, their last five matches. They had a tough stretch of matches in these. I mean, at home against Greenville, at Central Valley, which was that game for them was not a highlight of their season. Going to Central Valley and losing 1-0, giving up a goal that early and not being able to break through. Um, and then Omaha and Madison, both away. Those are two very tough matches. That's 1 and 2, obviously. And unfortunately for Spokane, losing out on some players for those matches definitely hurts them. And they lose those two by a combined 6-0. So not a great look. And then they finished out that 5 match stretch drawing against Tormenta 0-0. So not great when you're on that bottom half of the playoff field. But giving a little bit of life to Tormenta, which it's still a race. I mean, Tormenta's
still
1 point behind Richmond, so pending results this weekend, that's another big one. But talking about Knoxville and Spokane, talk about two teams that are on the opposite ends of the luck spectrum there.
yeah. The thing that that gets me on this topic is we see these teams who go into these key pivotal moments or these spans in their season, and they either float or sink. And unfortunately, we saw the difference between these two. But there's another team that I think we need to talk a little bit more about, and I think everybody at home knows exactly what direction we're heading. What is going on with Charlotte?
Charlotte is one of those teams. I mean, we talked about them a lot last season, and then halfway through this season, it was, they were sitting in first place at a certain point, and I don't know. I mean, this team completely flipped and imploded on themselves. I mean, if you look at what they've done, especially recently, they're winless in their last five. And not all of the teams that they played, it wasn't like, Spokane schedule where you're playing one and two back to back. But I mean, they came out and, lost to NoCo at home, lost to Madison at home, drew Tormenta at Tormenta, lost to Richmond, and then drew Knoxville. So the last part of that, yeah, I mean, you draw to Knoxville, that's a good team, but I mean, the rest of them, you've got to think you should be pulling one of those. And I wonder if teams have kind of maybe just figured out exactly how to play Charlotte now. You know what they like to do, and I think teams have finally figured out you can't let them force you out wide, and you can't let their midfield take over the game and be able to pass around however they want to. Um, it's just crazy that this team, a lot of people were having them in the midseason finishing one or two, um, myself I think included, and singing their praises. And I don't know what their drop off is, honestly. That it's crazy to me that it has fallen all the way down to sixth place after being one of the top three teams for the majority of the season.
Yeah. They haven't won a match since August 24th when they hosted Fuego and won 4-0. It's man, it's pretty alarming to see their stretch like since that 4-0 victory, just
Mm-hmm.
man, being held to low scores and having these losses, even draws against other teams. I mean, it's just it's perplexing for sure.
Yeah, I something going on. I mean, obviously they're out of the regular season title race, but that being said, Charlotte last season also was not picked to go to the final either. A lot of people were counting them out against Union Omaha, and they came in to Warner
Yep.
Park and won in a shootout. So you can never count anybody out. Depending, their form may not be the best at the end of the season, and I mean this goes for a couple other teams, also like Spokane. You can't count a team out because playoffs are different. It's just it's different, and unfortunately for Charlotte, I think they do finish outside of the top four, so they're going to be on the road for the majority, if not all, of the matches. So
And
definitely a tough road.
looking at the way that the playoffs are set up right now, they would be playing. They would in the first round they would go to NoCo,
It's a tough one.
and they split that regular season series in week 13. They went to NoCo and won 1-0. But then in week 23, they hosted NoCo and lost, with NoCo taking that one 2-1.
Hmm.
So that would be, I mean, it would be an entertaining, that would be such a fast match.
Very fast
Speed,
paced.
man,
A lot of
talk
good
about
shots.
whiplash. Yeah, geez, that'd be a fun one. Um, yeah, I'm sitting here looking at all the stats and like, yeah, we can talk about Knox, we can talk about Spokane, but man, Charlotte dropping
I
a
think
team that
Charlotte is
has,
the biggest drop off for sure.
yeah, a surprising team, for me to go flip it and talk in a more positive manner. Richmond Kickers, they're uh, they're picking up some steam. So ever since they went to Omaha and lost 3-0, they have since gone undefeated. They
Yep.
beat Charlotte at Charlotte 1-0. They beat Lexington at home 3-0. They drew Union Omaha 0-0. And then they came to Tormenta, scored a last second, literal last second goal to draw that. It was looking like that one was going to be a Tormenta win, but that last second goal from Simon Fitch
Mm-hmm.
got them the draw, kept their season alive too. Because with that, Tormenta would have overpassed them by 2 points.
Yep.
So it really would have put pressure on their playoff hopes. But that goal kept their postseason hopes and dreams alive.
It did, and I think Richmond this season, I mean, you see what they did last season, you look at this season, it's been a disappointing season as a Richmond fan so far. Um, but coming in and sitting in that 8 spot, you know you're going to have to be in form to close this out. I mean, you've got Tormenta breathing down your neck, and you can't even count out Chattanooga either. I mean, they statistically aren't eliminated from it. Will they make it? More than likely not. No. But, I mean, you have these two teams right on your heels, all within 3 points of you. You're going to have to be on your game if you want to make the playoffs. So, whatever team comes in at number 8, whether that be Richmond, Tormenta, or Chattanooga, they're going to have to be on a little bit of a run. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be dangerous to see who the 1 seed is that has to play that 8 seed, depending on form. There's going to be a lot of interesting matchups in this playoff. So,
Yeah, the and Emiliano Terzaghi scored in that match against Tormenta too, and that was his third of the season. His first time scoring since, man, all the way back in July.
I think there was an injury bug in there too, which
Yeah.
obviously hurts your chances. And I know, Rich, that you definitely love every single time that guy scores, especially when it's against a team that you work for.
Yeah. I tell you what though, that Simon Fitch goal, that one broke my heart.
I mean, last second winners are always tough. Unless you're on the winning side of it, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about a little bit later. But yeah, those are always heartbreaking, especially to lose in that manner. But especially when, I mean, we'll get into it. We'll get into it when we get into the match recaps. I don't want to jump right into match recaps yet, but
We do have some improvements with, some of the clubs with their points that they've gained at home versus points on the road. Um, some quality performances from teams across the season. Spokane really strong at home. They've really showed up this season, and um, they're putting up some quality stats. It's unfortunate that they won't be able to showcase any of that at home in the playoffs. I think the only way that they'd host
it would be
is
all
if they
upsets.
hosted, yeah, if Spokane and Richmond made the finals, in which case Spokane would host. That's the only way that they would host a playoff match, and it would be the championship.
I mean, that's entertaining. That's League One in a nutshell, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't put it past the league, but the likelihood of it is not very high.
Yeah, at this point they would have to beat Madison at Madison, and then the next week they would have to beat Charlotte at Charlotte.
That's
So,
tough.
yeah.
That's tough,
So,
especially with a team on the road that has only scored 9 points or secured 9 points on the road.
yeah.
In Hull. I mean, that talk about disparity between home and away points in this one. That's tough.
Yeah.
I can see why they score a lot of goals at home and they win a lot of matches at home. That is a beautiful soccer stadium.
Yeah.
B, the fans there are amazing. So I can definitely see why they win a lot at home.
I don't mind saying this ahead of the 2025 season, and put me on early hype watch. I don't care. I'm telling you right now, watch out for Spokane next season. I think they're going to be I think they'll be much better than they are this season. And I'm not saying that as an insult at all. But what I am saying is they're going to improve next season, and I think they're going to finish much higher than 7th next season. Obviously, this is like way out of proportion because we don't know who the other teams are adding to their roster. We don't even like the new clubs coming in haven't
Mm-hmm.
even signed their first player. So
Right.
I mean all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, like, I'm buying the hype behind Spokane in 25.
Yeah, I think when you look at that organization, that this season finishing in seventh place is not going to be good enough for that organization. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with you.
Well, we can go ahead and get into some of those recaps from week 23. Um, Started off, I mean, speaking of Spokane, here we are talking about hyping them, and then here we are talking about their 1-0 loss to Fuego, but it happened.
Yeah. I would have thought, or I guess I did think watching this match when Fuego scored in the 4th minute of play that, all right, I mean, Fuego does that. They do jump out on people quite often because their speed will catch you by surprise if you're not paying attention. So I thought, it's just an early goal. At worst, they're going to draw. They'll get one back at some point. They never ended up doing that. And they just never looked comfortable in that match, which has been kind of a thing with Spokane over these last few matches. When they're playing, especially being without key players and stuff like that, I mean, they never grew into the game, and they haven't been for a while. So definitely a head scratcher kind of match. But you got to give all credit to Fuego, not giving up on their season, still trying to get wins off of people and moving forward.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know when Sean put this in the chat, but he said at least Texoma has a coach now. So yeah, I agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry we didn't see that earlier, Sean. Appreciate you chiming in though. But yeah, to go back to this match between Fuego and Spokane, I mean, Fuego had their backs up against the wall. If they lost that match, I mean, their season essentially is done. By winning this match, they preserve their season.
Yeah, sure. Yes, they did. In spirit, I suppose. I think the writing is on the wall. It just hasn't been revealed yet that they're not making the playoffs. But it's also good to build. I mean, you have to build these wins. One win turns into two turns into three. That whole old adage kind of thing. You want to get momentum going into next season. Get the fans excited a little bit towards the end of the season, which Lord knows CV Fuego needs their fans right now more than I think they realize. But it's a good win for Fuego and kind of a shocking loss for Spokane. I guess not shocking if we look back and we see they don't do well on the road. It shouldn't be that big of a shock, but to say Fuego has not played the best soccer this season is a bit of an understatement. So that to me is always going to be a shock when they come out and beat a team. So
yeah,
sorry, El Fuego Pod.
Good people over there at Fuego Pod. Go listen to them. And then Friday, we hinted at this match earlier when we talked about Tormenta hosting Richmond Kickers. That one finished 2-2. Tormenta came right out the gates, and what was it, like the first half hour?
Mm-hmm.
Like consecutive corner kicks, headers to the back of the net. I mean,
both by defenders as well.
By the defenders, yeah. Jake Dengler getting his 3rd of the season. Aaron Lombardi getting his 1st of the season. The 1st of the regular season.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, it shocked me to hear that it was his 1st for the regular season, because I feel like we hear that dude's name constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was his first match with his dyed hair. He dyed it pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Oh, nice.
So he came out sporting pink hair.
Yeah. Very nice.
Good guy.
This one, it was really weird. Tormenta looked like they were in complete control in that first half, and it did not seem like Richmond had an answer for anything Tormenta was doing. When they went up, 2-0, it started to look like they were almost took their foot off the gas a little bit. And I think that gave Richmond a little bit of confidence going into halftime. And then for them to come out and and tie the game with a last second goal. I mean, that has to be a huge boost for that team going in to what they have for the rest of the season. Look up what their last few matches are. So they got Chattanooga this weekend.
And then they have Charlotte after that.
Where are they at? Yes, and then Charlotte after that is one of the early matches.
And those are both home matches too, right?
Those are both home matches, yes.
Oh my gosh.
So this weekend, Richmond could kill Chattanooga's chances completely. But back to this match, I mean, the kind of poise that it showed for Richmond to come in and finish it with a draw and really kind of extend their season at least another week it's admirable. And I think Tormenta, like I said, took their foot off the gas and paid for it a little bit, because that's tough to turn back around when you take your foot off the gas mid-match. It's tough to get it going again. You got to think it's almost like starting a game over again. So definitely missed opportunity by Tormenta, and an opportunity for Richmond to keep that number 8 spot. So it's unfortunate, but that is for Tormenta, but fortunate for Richmond. I think they came in and did what they had to do. Getting one on the road is always the end goal. If you can't get 3, getting 1 is good enough.
Yep. You know, in baseball, when the pitcher is riding a no-hitter, you're not supposed to talk to the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
At halftime, when we still had the lead, I can tell you that in the press box, we were looking around like, nobody say anything. Nobody say anything.
Yep. You can't jinx it. Now you got to figure out, if you're Tormenta, you got to figure out what the hex was at half. Who did something they don't normally do?
Yep. That's where the investigation should be.
Yep.
Well, then Saturday, October 12th, we got back into more action. We had 4 matches that week, and Omaha ended up hosting Lexington and beating them 2-1. This was a last-second winner too.
Yeah.
Off a corner kick too, wasn't it?
Corner kick, yes.
Yeah.
Last-second winner off a corner kick, and that, like I was saying earlier, man, those last-second ones are fun when you're on the winning side of it. Being on the losing side, not as fun. But I can tell you that inside the stadium, it was a great crowd. Like under 4 or just over 4,500, something like that, fans. So great turnout, great weather. It was a good one to be at, and credit to Lexington though, man. They came out and played really well. And I think that kind of just goes back to how they are as a team, and kind of that hot and cold thing that we talk about with them every single year they've been in the league. You don't know what Lexington team is going to come out, and the first up until Omaha scored their first goal, that I think Lexington controlled a lot of that match. The stats aren't going to say it. The stats are going to say Omaha pretty brutally manhandled them in this one. But just watching it, it didn't really ever feel like Omaha took great control of that match. Until of course they did in the last minute of the game. But it helps Omaha's shield chances. Didn't get it done last week because, as I predicted, Madison got the job done against Chattanooga, and Omaha just needs to win their next match, or draw and Madison draw or lose. So definitely a lot more to play for this week. But yeah, I think it showed what Omaha can do when they want to turn it on. They're one of those teams traditionally as well, have been one of those teams where in the face of kind of that adversity, they find that extra gear and figure it out. And I think that's what's led them to have such success.
Yeah. And as we noted earlier this week, with that 2-1 victory, Omaha became the fifth USL League One club to hit 200 goals all time in the regular season. And they did it faster than any club in league history. They also boast the highest total goal differential at plus 68 and the lowest average goals against with 1.05 per match.
Very solid numbers.
Yeah. They are also among active clubs, they have the highest points per match if you look at every single one of their matches in the regular season. They have an average of 1.83 points collected per match. Closest active League One club is NOCO at 1.7 points per match.
A couple of younger clubs up at the top.
Yeah.
Makes sense, I suppose, though, too.
Yeah. But to go back to shoot, I got my stuff all over mixed. Going back to Richmond with that last second goal, I will tell you this: as heartbroken as I was to see Simon Fitch
Hmm.
score that goal, I also thought it was really cool that Kickers fans were all together watching this for a watch party and everything, and to see their reactions like that was cool.
Yeah, that's a big watch party, though. Them and Madison have been on the watch party game very well.
Yeah, it as much as it hurt, it was also cool to see the fans have that kind of a special moment together at the watch party together. So
Yeah.
dang it. Yeah. Um, and then moving on to the next match from last Saturday, Ford Madison hosted Chattanooga. Things got pretty feisty,
Things did
but
get feisty.
when
Um,
final whistle blew, Madison did win 2-1. But yeah, it was
mhm.
feisty.
Yeah, but I think we kind of knew that going into it. We talked about it last week. This is
Yeah.
two teams that play very physical brands of soccer going up against each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with either team doing it that way. That is definitely a way to do it, and both of these teams do it very well. Um, I think in this one, Omaha fans obviously wanted Chattanooga to come out in the victory with this one, but it was a steep hill to climb. I mean, this is a very, very good Madison team as well. Um, and I think they frustrated Chattanooga enough to make them lose their composure a little bit out on the pitch. So, which we knew was a key to the game coming into it, and they definitely took care of business on that one. I mean, I'm just kind of pulling up the actual stats here. I think this one it was kind of a tale of two teams. I mean, Chattanooga didn't play extraordinarily well. When they can't get the ball, they generally don't play that well, and that's kind of what happened here. 32% possession for Chat to Madison's 68%. If you give Madison that much of the ball, they will nickel and dime you to death. Um,
Yeah.
their players are precise enough that they'll just pass around you and beat you, and that I think that is really the biggest tale from this match here.
With the collection of veterans on that roster, there's that knowledge, that experience, that pedigree where there's that confidence that they know how to win matches.
Yep.
And if you give them, like you said, if you give them that opportunity, 60 some odd percent possession, they're going to find a way to make it happen, and they're going to punish you.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's oof, man, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I mean you just look at their roster, and there are dudes all over all over that side for Madison that will make you pay. Um, and I think a lot of Chattanooga's struggles have been due to trying to go through Rapapa Mensa for most of their offensive firepower. I mean, they have some of the pieces around that can help him out, but more often than not, he is the one that is taking charge of that offensive attack and putting the ball in the back of the net, like he did in this one. But against Madison's entire team, I think talent wise, Madison is um, one of the most talented sides that is playing in League One this season. So they're definitely probably the most experienced side. So they they are one of those few teams that can play that frustration ball very well, and I think that definitely surfaced in this one.
Yep, I agree. Um, yeah, I was pretty surprised. I think I watched this one because they had that weather delay during this match too. So they
Hmm.
because I was planning on watching Charlotte and Noco, but with the delay for this one, after the Union Omaha match, I switched it over to this one with the later kickoff.
Hmm.
Um, Honestly, I was surprised that they went into halftime with a scoreless draw.
Yep.
I was getting nervous, um, thinking like, is this when Union Omaha lifts the shield? Like, is this it? Um, But then second half, there were 3 yellow cards in the first half. There were 7 in the second half. I mean, the second half was where all the action was. It was where
Yeah.
all the goals were. It was where all the yellow cards were. It was if if you missed the first half for whatever you were doing, like, okay, well,
Understandable.
sucks you missed those 45. But if you watched the second half, you watched all the good stuff.
You got your money's worth watching it on that part. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And I think moving forward with this one, it just if you really look at Chattanooga, they're one of those teams that are better on the road, but overall just not in the same. I don't want to say the same league because that sounds really like whoa elitist or whatever. But this season there are three teams that I would say are the front runners, and going to be heavy favorites to win the playoff, and one of them is not Chattanooga. So
Yeah.
they did run into kind of a buzzsaw here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just by looking at the history between these two clubs. Now, granted, yes, Madison has won most of the recent fixtures, but matches between these two, I mean, it's a battle. Like it's an intense battle.
Hmm.
So if you get a chance to watch this one, whether it was in the Jaeger Cup or if it was a regular season match, I mean, you were like you said just moments ago. I mean, you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
And anytime these two go up against each other, you're going to get your money's worth.
Hmm.
Looking at the live chat, Sean jumped in here saying, "I don't know, it was rough. It was, I'm sorry, it was rough. It was rough, even as the winning team." So that that goes back to the Union Omaha victory over Lexington. Um, so yeah, I can understand why he's saying that too, because there were some hairy moments in there too.
Yeah, I think with that, you have a team that's chasing the players' shield. I think from here on out, every moment for Union Omaha fans are going to be very. Make sure you take your heart medication if you do, and if you don't, try to get it prescribed because you're probably going to need it for these last two matches.
Yep, totally agree. And as I mentioned just moments ago, I was planning on watching the NoCo and Charlotte match, but since I decided to watch the Madison Chattanooga match, I had to wait to watch this one um, on the replay. But Charlotte and NoCo, that was an entertaining match too. Another last second winner.
Yeah, it was the week of last second winners. In the 90th plus 8 minute. I mean, that's already a lot of stoppage time. So um, pretty evenly matched between these two teams. I mean, you go down, excuse me, you go down the list on everything, and a pretty even match. Um, Obviously, Charlotte got out to the early lead, um, and I think that gave them a bit of a confidence boost. But as we've seen in a lot of matches this season, this Northern Colorado Hailstorm team is built to come back and win matches. They score quickly, they score fast, they move fast. Um, Not surprising to see Northern Colorado win this. Um, as we alluded to earlier, I mean, it just more surprised that Charlotte is unable to get results in this second half of the season. Um, but again, not to take anything away from Northern Colorado, they went out and they earned this one. Um, Two really good teams going at it. I caught a little bit of this match, not too much, but um, in the little bit that I did catch, it's exactly what you would expect from these two teams. Northern Colorado playing super fast, Charlotte playing super methodical. Um, and just one of those, you play this 10 times, you may get this result one time. And it could be completely 10 completely different games the 10 times you play this, because these two teams can play multiple styles. So, um, again, not surprised, and that pushes Northern Colorado um, up into third place, 3 points off of second place. So as far as seeding goes, you're going to want to be higher. So uh, pending results this weekend, that could push Northern Colorado up into that number 2 spot potentially, which I think just sets up for a really crazy last game of the season, or last week of the season, um, here in 2 weeks' time. But this game was going to be a fun rewatch to do before this weekend. That's for sure.
Yep. And we actually talked about this matchup earlier in the episode because we were talking about where the teams are currently placed and who they would face in the first round of the playoffs. This is that matchup. Charlotte and Noco would face each other in the first round of the playoffs, wouldn't they?
Yep, 3-6.
So, I mean, granted, it would be in Windsor instead of at Charlotte, but still, I mean, this is that matchup. We're that close to the playoffs, and we're seeing the two potential opponents right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That's scary, but it's also cool. But that's what as much as we may complain about some aspects of the schedule, I mean, this is one of those beautiful moments where we see one of those potential playoff matches before before the playoffs even start. So
Right.
that's the magic that's involved. And I think we had another cool stat for Northern Colorado with this one. Oh, going back to Forward Madison, their win over Chattanooga pushed them above Chattanooga and tied them in third place for all time League One regular season wins. With 53 wins, they are tied with Richmond and have one more win than Chattanooga.
Nice.
So there's your random trivia for you. Where's the NOCO one that we did? So among active USL League One clubs, Northern Colorado's win over Charlotte allowed them to jump Charlotte in terms of highest average goals scored per regular season match. Northern Colorado sits at 1.62 goals per match, and Charlotte sits at 1.61.
Very close.
Yeah,
Good.
this is one of those weeks where not only did we have a lot of late winners, we also had a lot of results that had implications on all-time league standings, with uh, Northern Colorado over Charlotte and Madison over Chattanooga. So lot of aspects to be looking at when you're looking at these recaps and storylines and all that kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that we dig for. That's the stuff that we love to talk about.
Hmm.
But then going even further into week 23, last match of week 23 was Spokane hosting Greenville.
Yeah, this one was a good one. Saw two penalties, so each team scoring one. Um, Lyon McKinnon getting a brace in this one, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Huge there. Greenville comes out on top in this one, and it's just really furthering the woes of Spokane. So a rare loss for Spokane at home. Um, I think it was at home.
This was in Spokane.
Mhm.
And it was one of those moments where when I was, even as I was watching this one, I think I watched this one. I think I had this one on live. But once Greenville had that third goal in like the 60 some odd, like toward the 70th minute, I
67th,
was
yep.
even thinking to myself, like, there's no way that Spokane's digging out of this one. They may miraculously get like a draw out of this, but they're not going to get a victory out of this one.
That's tough.
Yeah. But credit to Spokane for scoring those two late goals to make things interesting.
Yeah, they got their penalty in the 73rd and then the 90+2. So another match with an extra time goal scored. It wasn't a
Yeah.
winner, but another goal scored in extra time. I mean, I don't think they have the stat for that, and I'm not asking anybody to go look that up because that would be a whole lot of looking through stuff. But I don't feel like there's been that many late match goals scored in a week
Yeah.
since we've been watching. I can't remember a time, I should say. Um, but I mean, as far as this match goes, evenly matched for the most part. Greenville gets more shots on target in this one, but everything else really close. The thing I really think that did Spokane in on this one, 19 fouls to Greenville 6.
Oh, wow.
A
I hadn't seen
very,
that.
very lopsided affair in that. And it doesn't play out as far as the yellow cards, Spokane with only 4 and Greenville with 2. So, but it's a little bit shocking to me that Spokane did not score more goals. They had 12 corners in this match as well.
Jeez.
That is statistically something they usually are pretty good at. Unfortunately, unable to do it in this one, and it really ups Greenville's chances of holding on to that 4 spot. As Knoxville is breathing right down their neck with 1 point off of that number 4 spot. So,
Yeah.
another really pivotal win for a team that is in the upper half of the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
top 4 teams all get wins this weekend. So that kind of cements them where they are, at least in hosting a first round matchup. Live to fight another week for some of these other teams, but there's definitely, the door is open for Knoxville and even Charlotte to sneak into that final playoff spot.
Yeah.
The final
And
hosting spot.
hosting. Yeah. I knew where you were going with that. Yeah.
It's been a
As
long day.
we
Words aren't working.
as we were just talking about the worries we have of recent results for Spokane, it wasn't that long ago that we were voicing that same level of concern for Greenville.
Hmm.
If you remember back, the months of July and August were not friendly for Greenville.
Nope.
But once they started getting into, sort of mid-September, they started turning things around, churning results, and here they are back in the top 4 and making things interesting up there too.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know what Rick Wright did, whether it was in training or it was his locker room talk, or if the players had a player only meeting, whatever it was, there was a serious turnaround in their season, and kudos to them for making it happen.
That's what you got to do. And honestly, we shouldn't be that surprised. Greenville is one of those organizations that obviously top to bottom has their heads on, you know, right. And that's been seen with their success on the field since their inception. I mean, this is another team that hasn't missed the playoffs since their inception, which is really hard to do when COVID made it so that the 2020 season only had 2 teams in the playoffs. So that's good company to be in. I think moving forward, Greenville is one of those teams you can count on to never be out of the fight. So I think they've kind of shown that this season, as you said, Rich, and something to look out for in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been hitting on some of those all-time stats related to some of the other clubs. With Greenville, they had some major ones with this win. With their win at Spokane on Saturday, hit 70 regular season wins in club history. In doing so, they're the first League One club to hit that mark, and they have the most regular season points in league history with 251. And you talked about making the playoffs in every single season. It goes even one step further than that, because with that win, it was their 10th win of the 2024 season, making them the only club in League One history to have double-digit wins in every regular season since the league was formed. I mean, this is a team with incredible consistency year to year. That
Mm-hmm.
standard of excellence, and they hold themselves to it and they execute it.
Yep.
Um, Making the playoffs, even in a year like you just mentioned, where they only accepted 2, that's tough. And then to carry that excellence, that same level of excellence into other seasons. I mean, Greenville, I mean, man, just a shining example of how you should be operating a club in League One.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, come on, they just brought in Ronaldinho as one of their investors. Come on.
Very true.
Sean just jumped in here saying, I've got a semi deep dive question on fouls/cards pertaining to pros' recent game assignments of quote unquote certain types of referees. Okay. Hey, if you got the questions, throw it in here. I can't guarantee that we'll be able to answer that one.
Right.
Um, but it'd be certainly worthy of a fun discussion. And Chris coming in here saying, who do y'all see taking the 8th spot for the playoffs? That is a great lead into our next topic, because we have clinching scenarios this weekend, but we also have elimination scenarios this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy to think that we're in the second to last week of the regular season and we're just now talking about elimination scenarios, but this is where we sit. Um, the quest is very simple for Union Omaha when it comes to the Player Shield. Brian, since you are a season ticket member,
Mm-hmm.
devoted fan, I'll let you announce that one.
Just win. Just win,
Yeah.
baby. You win. You win and you're in. You got it. If Omaha fails to win, whether that be a draw or a loss, they need Madison to either draw or lose as well. So, 2 potential pathways. Obviously, the easiest, quote unquote, is win. You win down in Tormenta, you win the Players' Shield, you lock up home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, should you stay in it the whole time. Yeah, that's really it. Madison does have a steep road for the last few. They've got Knoxville this weekend, and then Northern Colorado to finish out the season.
Oh my.
And that is at Northern Colorado as well. So,
2 versus 3 to finish the regular
2
season.
versus 3 to finish the regular season.
That is insane. We have 2
And
versus 5 right now, and then next week is 2 versus 3. Oh my gosh.
Fun fact, it is in Colorado, but it is not the latest match, the last match on the last match day. That credit goes to Spokane and One Knox, starting
Yeah.
1 hour later. So,
Yeah. Wow. That's going to be cool.
should be.
Okay,
Should be.
so
But Madison has the way harder road to close out the season. And the fact that they cannot drop any points in these last two matches makes it difficult for them.
yeah.
That being said, you flip the coin. Union Omaha has two teams in the bottom half of the table going to Tormenta this weekend, which you factor in travel, everything like that. What we've seen Tormenta be able to do at times this season, that match could be difficult. And then coming back home to face Central Valley Fuego, which Central Valley Fuego loves to come in and beat Union Omaha on the last match day of the season at Union Omaha because they have done it before. So,
Yeah.
Definitely easier road for Omaha. They need to win one of these last two matches, and they'll win the Players' Shield without any help. So,
Yeah. And not only so Ford Madison plays two teams that are in the top half of the league, but as you just said with Union Omaha facing two teams in the bottom half of the league, these are two teams that as we look at the current standings, they're not even playoff teams.
nope.
So yeah, the road is much easier for Union Omaha getting into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now I can you know try to hype up the Tormenta fans out there by saying this is a team that's not ready to go belly up anytime soon. So they're going to come out ready to play on Saturday. Because just as much as Union Omaha wants to win the Shield and secure that silverware on Saturday, Tormenta is playing for their playoff hopes and dreams in this
Yep.
one. Tormenta has an uphill climb when it comes to their opponents to close out the regular season, hosting Union Omaha and then going to Greenville next week. And Richmond, as we said earlier, with two home matches to finish off their season, hosting Chattanooga Saturday and then hosting Charlotte the week after. Um, so Tormenta needs to win one of these last two matches. Well, okay, so here's the scenarios for Tormenta. They need to at least draw these last two matches, and in doing so, they also need Richmond to lose their remaining matches. If Tormenta wins one of the matches, they need Richmond to draw one and lose the other one. If so, I mean, if Richmond wins and Tormenta draws, that's it.
Yep.
We also have other elimination scenarios here with Central Valley Fuego. They need to win out, and they need every other team above them, Lexington, Chattanooga, Tormenta, Richmond, to lose out. Yeah,
Probably not going to happen. Would
yeah,
be hilarious and very much League One like that would happen, but I don't see that happening.
yeah. Lexington is in a very similar scenario. At the very least, they need to win one and draw one, but then they also need to work on their goal differential. Chattanooga,
What?
they're
What?
actually sitting pretty good with their league wins, so they just need like a win and a draw. Everybody else has to lose out. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So there are some elimination scenarios that we are looking at this weekend, um, but the teams that are in the best place as we look at the current standings would have to be Richmond and Tormenta.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean to answer your question, CJ, I see. I think Richmond gets in. I think it's I think it's because Omaha wins on Saturday. I guess we haven't done move to our picks. Spoiler alert: I'm picking Omaha to beat Tormenta on Saturday. But yeah, I think Richmond gets that 8 spot.
Oh man. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's what's looking likely at the moment.
Stranger things have happened for sure.
Yeah.
So,
So
I
yeah.
was just gonna say as well. Sean said he only paid attention to Union Omaha matches, but it seems like pro referees have started giving head ref assignments to scabs who worked MLS during the lockout. And he would like to know that across the league, the number of fouls and cards from the scab referees and the non-scab referees.
Oh, that's interesting.
That
That's quite
is,
the assignment.
and he said, I understand that is a monumental task slash ask.
Yeah.
That is a big one. Um, but I will say, just from watching the league and kind of watching the assignments a little bit closer, just because it has been talked about quite a bit. Uh, I would say the head referees that worked during the MLS lockout are of lower quality than the ones that did not. So chances are very high that there's going to be a higher number of fouls and especially cards from the scab referees as opposed to the good union, actual real union referees.
Yeah. Hmm. Man, I know which websites that I would go to find that information. That'd be tough. That'd be, yeah, like he said, that's a monumental task. Um, that would take some time.
Sean, remind us in the off season about that one. That
Yeah.
sounds like a good off season deep dive.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the suggestion though. I like
It
the
is good.
creativity of the thinking. There's yeah, like you said, maybe an off-season project. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely would love to take a look at it in the off season. That I think that would be a fun discussion to have. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, definitely a project. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, we can jump straight into week 24 matches. We have already had one this week with One Knox defeating Central Valley.
Yep.
Um,
Admittedly, I did not watch that one.
and I think does everybody, yeah, everybody plays Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, everybody plays Saturday, Sunday.
Hmm. Yep. And there's 6 matches, 2 teams
Yeah.
apiece. Yep.
Yep. We're good. Okay. All right. So starting off Saturday's action, Richmond hosting Chattanooga, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus.
Hmm.
What's your thoughts?
Uh, honestly, just given kind of the run that Richmond has had to put themselves in to get to the point where they're at now, going up against Chattanooga. Obviously, with Chattanooga, they're going to be out there to try to frustrate them. They're going to try to do everything they can uh, on the pitch legally, like they usually do, and I think they're going to be successful in doing that. Um, but I do think Richmond, especially with the league's number one goal scorer seemingly rounding into form again right when it matters, um, with Terzaghi, I really think that Richmond has too much for Chattanooga. I see it coming down, not in stoppage time, but maybe around the 70th minute or so. I think Richmond pulls away, and I think they take this one. I'm gonna have it a guess at 2-1. I like 2-1 Richmond in this one.
You had me on a roller coaster there because I thought you were going to predict Chattanooga with a win there. Dang it. Oh, dang it. Okay. Oh,
Uh,
I'm going to hope for, oh, well, hold on a second here
I mean,
because I can't even hope for a Chattanooga win because they would go to 21 points.
yeah, I think the best way that you can get the way Tormenta wants this to play out is these two teams draw, and Tormenta wins on Saturday.
Yeah. And Chattanooga, if they won, they would be at 21 points and they would be at 6 league wins.
So they got the first tiebreaker.
So yeah, like you just said, Tormenta fans need these
Need a
two teams
draw
to
in this
draw,
one.
and they need Tormenta to gain some ground, whether it's a draw, whether it's a win, whatever. They just need to.
A win really helps their case. If you pull off a win against number one, that really helps their case.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's my like that. I'm just gonna go with the, but my prediction though.
This
Yeah,
is
I
one
think
you
Richmond.
can predict.
Yeah, I'll say. Dang it, I don't want to. I think Richmond's gonna win it.
See, you can want
I'll go.
something else to
1-0.
happen.
I can. Yeah, I want these two to draw. But yes, I think Richmond will win 1-0. Dang it. All right, Lexington and Charlotte, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, this one, I'm going to say it again, and it's just no pun intended, but beating a dead horse. You don't know which Lexington team is going to show up. They're too wishy-washy for me. That being said, the horses on the other side are very wishy-washy as of late too. So in this one, in the last 5, Lexington at least has won one of them. So I guess I'll go with the quote unquote hot hand in this one. I'll say Lexington wins this one. I think both are definitely going to score. I think it's hard to envision either of these teams not scoring in this one. So I also like 2-1 in this one, but give me Lexington over Charlotte.
Wow, that's a pick. Okay. I'm going to go against everything you just said. I think Austin Pack gets a clean sheet. I think Charlotte bounces back, and I think they beat Lexington 2-0.
That's literally against everything I said.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. All right, big matchup. 2 playoff teams, 2 top 6 teams. I think Knox is they're in 5th place, right? So top 5 teams.
Yes, Knox is in number 5th place, 1 point off of Greenville at number 4.
So yeah, you have Ford Madison hosting One Knox Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus. What you got?
Oof. This one's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna predict a draw. I actually think that is what is gonna happen, but I'm not gonna do that. You know, we have always been of the mindset we got to pick a winner. Where is this one at? It's in Madison. Oh,
yeah,
that's a big one. That's a big one. Oh, that is a tough environment, and I'm sure that place is going to be just straight rocking too. I'm sure they're going to put a call out that all their fans get there and be real loud, and they're going to answer the call because it's Madison. That's what they do. I like a draw in this one, but for the sake of argument, and because I think it would be really funny to see Knoxville jump from 5th to 3rd, I like Knoxville 2-1.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll take Knoxville 2-1, and pending other results, that pushes them all the way up into 3rd place.
Wow. Okay. So a stat for you: when Knoxville plays on the road against a top 4 team, they have yet to win a match. They've played 3 away matches against a top 4 team, and they've only claimed a single point out of those. But they have kept the score low with a total. They've only scored 1 goal against those 3 matches, but they've also only conceded 3 goals. So the goal differential is only -2 against top 4 teams on the road. They keep it close.
Yeah, I mean that beating a dead horse again, not that's just what Knoxville does. Their defense is just built that way, so
Yeah.
they don't give up a ton of goals. Matter of fact, looking at it, they are the lowest goals allowed team in the league at 16 goals allowed. Granted, they
Yeah.
don't score very much with only 23 allowed, and that is, I think, it is tied for the worst in the league with Richmond. Um, Even Central Valley Fuego has scored more goals this season than One Knox.
Yeah.
Just to show the disparity between 5th place and 12th place. The 12th place team has more goals scored. Um,
Yeah.
oh,
But just
man.
as we looked at One Knox playing on the road against top 4, looking at Madison playing against the middle 4 of the league, they've also had 3 matches against the middle 4 teams of the league. In those matches, they are undefeated with 1 win and 2 draws, and outscoring their opponents 4-2 across those 3 matches.
So still close.
Still close.
So all the stats would say Forward Madison wins this match.
Close, and a close one, though.
And a very close one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So you're saying One Knox over Madison 2-1.
Yeah, I felt better about that one until you brought out all the stats after I had made a prediction. But yeah.
I'll go with Madison, and I will flip the score, and I'll go 2-1 Madison.
That's honestly fair. That's yeah. I can't argue with that. You got to figure. I'm a big believer in crowds helping out teams. I think that Forward Madison crowd is good for at least a goal.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they do like sports betting? If you're the home team and you have a good home field advantage, it's 3 to 5 point swing based on your home field advantage. I think it's about a goal swing for Madison's fans in that one.
Yeah. And then kicking off at 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN Plus, you have Tormenta hosting Union Omaha, Shield Watch, as well as Playoff Hopes.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you talk to a Union Omaha fan and they talk about an upcoming Tormenta match, what's the one stat that Union Omaha fans love to say when it comes to a Tormenta match?
Tormenta has never beaten Union Omaha.
There it is. Never. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, Omaha's a really good team. Tormenta is going to be fighting for their playoff lives. I think that is going to be good, good for them. I think that's easily a goal at some point for them. And I actually think it probably happens early. I don't have the stats in front of me, but just thinking about Omaha, they concede the first goal a little bit more than I would like them to as an Omaha fan, but they generally fight their way back out of it. So I do see Tormenta scoring first, but I see Omaha coming back in a big way. Tormenta has never beaten Omaha. That's going to continue after this weekend. I like Omaha in this one 3-1.
Okay.
And you cannot pick this match, so
I cannot
that's just how it's going to be.
All right, so we can jump straight into the 9 o'clock kickoff Eastern time.
League One After Dark.
Big one. League One After Dark, and it's a big one. Northern Colorado hosting Spokane.
Spokane should have all of their pieces back. That's going to make this match a lot more appealing. Watch out for them to come out swinging in this one. They have a lot to kind of prove in this one. We're also looking at potential playoff seeding if the Charlotte result goes their way. This puts them 1 point behind if they win this for that 6th spot. I don't know that it gets any better playing these top four teams. I think any one of them is a tall task for any team. Um, but that being said, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Spokane to come through and get it done. Northern Colorado is a hell of a team, and I think they are just going to be a little bit too pacey for Spokane in this one. So in this one, I do like Northern Colorado. I think it's going to be very close. Uh, I don't want to say 1-0. I also don't want to say 2-1 again. So let me say 3-2 Northern Colorado in this one.
Ooh, you think it's going to be big? Okay. So just to add a little bit of context,
After the
the
fact.
first time these two, yeah, exactly. The first time these two teams faced off was in week 3, and it was in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
Velocity won 1-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to remember Northern Colorado started this season very, very slow.
Yeah, they did.
And Spokane was the opposite. They started their season very, very hot.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Some good context there. Now, to add some more history here to this, or to add some more stats to this one, when Spokane plays on the road against top 4 teams, they've played 3 matches on the road against top 4 teams, lost all 3 of them, only scoring 1 goal in those 3 matches, conceding 9.
Ooh.
Yeah. They have the second largest goal differential, negative goal differential, um, for teams playing on the road against top 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Only Lexington has a greater goal differential, negative goal differential at -9. So, I mean, you said NoCo 3-2.
Yep.
Okay. I think it's going to be NoCo. I'll go. Man, I'll say 3-0.
That's fair. I will say I'm giving Spokane a little bit of credit in this one. I think their midfield with getting Luis Heel back is going to be a little bit more pacey and be a little bit more forward. I know they had him back last week. It seemed like he was just getting kind of back into the game as well. So I do like Spokane's chances with him in the match a lot more than I do with him out of the match.
Oh.
So
yeah. Yeah, he's the heartbeat of that midfield.
it's a very good midfield player.
Yeah. And then to finish out week 24 action, we have Central Valley Fuego hosting Greenville, 7 p.m. kickoff Eastern time on ESPN Plus. Fuego and Triumph.
Yeah. 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 Listen, I mean, we talked about it earlier. Fuego obviously is playing to continue building for the future. Greenville is playing for playoff seeding. Could potentially drop out of the top 4 with a loss in this one, so they're going to be hyped up, ready to go in this one. I think talent-wise, I think Greenville is just the more talented side, top to bottom. I think they're the better coach side, specifically because their head coach is still there. Yeah, I like Greenville in this one, and I will give this to Central Valley. I think they keep it close. I think they're going to bring a little bit of energy, and I think Greenville might not be ready for the amount of energy they bring. But in the end, I do think Greenville gets it done. But I only like them to get it done 1-0.
Ooh, okay. So that's interesting because these two teams did meet in week 21 just a few weeks ago, and they played in Fresno. I'm sorry, no, they played in Greenville, and they tied 2-2 in that match. So keeping it close is very Fuego-like.
Yeah, that's what Fuego
Uh,
does. They may not win very many, but they will keep it close-ish.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's going to be a close one as well. Fuego has confidence in the at the moment.
They do.
I am going to go with a Greenville victory because, as another stat to throw into this one, Fuego has never won at home when they host Greenville. In 3 matches, they've only drawn Greenville once. The other 2 were losses. So I'm going to go Greenville with a 2-1 victory.
Yeah, still winning by 1. I think definitely keeping it close is what Fuego's going to do. Maybe some of that might be due to if Greenville can get it done with the least amount of effort possible. I imagine they probably try to do that, especially with them playing Tormenta the week after. They may be taking these 2 weeks here to try to rest up some guys, get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
A very favorable schedule for Greenville in these last 2, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My opinion.
There's always that risk of resting players just before the playoffs too. That's a risky tactic.
There is. You might take this week to kind of rest your players up a little bit, maybe give Fuego a little bit of a confidence boost in keeping it close. I really don't think there's a whole lot that Greenville can do to give Central Valley a whole lot in this one. Outside of having to, I'm not going to say that. That's me, and I'm not going to say that. Fuego has a chance, but it is a very small chance, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I agree. Well, looking at our Twitter feed, we don't have any questions in that. Looking at our live chat, we don't have any questions there. We'll give you a quick moment to throw any questions in there if you have anything. We are looking into some storylines here that could be fun to talk about next week. So hopefully we'll be able to discuss those more. We also threw out another interview invite. We're looking to hear back on that one. So hopefully we'll be able to update all of you on that here pretty soon.
Yep.
But yeah, it looks like we're sitting right at 91 minutes. No questions in the chat. You got anything else you want to say?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I was going to try to come up with something clever. I got nothing.
Oh yeah, Sean did throw in here that Jermaine Jones responded to the USL investigation today. There were some interesting points in there, and I'm gonna have to look into that a lot closer before we discuss that in detail. Obviously, we don't have access to the USL investigation, any of the evidence that is involved in that investigation, the details surrounding everything. So, I mean, everything that we're going to be discussing is pure just speculation and all that kind of stuff. But if you do want to go read Jermaine Jones's response to the USL investigation, check out his Twitter feed where he posted a statement. It's been an interesting situation between Jermaine Jones and Fuego. Not exactly how he was probably hoping to start his coaching career.
Yeah, I don't think it was how anybody wanted his coaching career to start out there. I don't want to jump to conclusions on it. I have thoughts on it, but I would rather wait and see what the investigation actually entailed and there were a lot of allegations thrown both ways, from the USL investigation to Jermaine Jones and from Jermaine Jones himself back at the league. So um, until they put something out with official stuff on either of those, I don't think anybody is really in a great position to respond publicly about it.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it. Yeah. Um, yeah, it would be certainly a lot of fun to sit here and speculate and gossip and sort of have that ETV type of, back and forth about the whole thing. But yeah, I don't think we know enough to be able to have a long discussion about it either. We
Uh,
can talk about the allegations, we can talk about his responses to them, but I mean, we don't have the evidence, we don't have the details, we don't have any of that stuff. So it's just
yeah,
tough.
I think it would be rather irresponsible as like, I guess you can call us journalists, quote unquote journalists, to talk about it, um, until we get the full story. But
Yeah.
um, catch me at a Union Omaha match off the air, and maybe I give you what I think about it, personally, not quote unquote professionally. So
And before you talk, buy Brian a beer.
I mean that's not going to hurt your chances.
Yeah.
Definitely won't.
All right. Well, with that said, sorry, Sean, that we couldn't answer, you know, your desire for a discussion there. Catch Brian on a hard corner kick. There you go. Yeah, Modelo.
Oh, you'll hear
um,
me if you're over by 105. You'll hear me.
so sorry, Sean, that we couldn't talk more about that topic there, but hopefully we'll have enough details at some point down the road to where we can actually, talk about it further. But with that said and done, I mean, that's another episode of League One on the Rocks in the books. Plenty of week 24 action on the way. Season is almost done. Postseason's right around the corner. Shield Watches is up. We have Wooden Spoon Race still alive and well. So there's a lot going on, and nothing is for sure at the moment.
No, the only
Yeah.
the only thing that we know for sure is that it's going to be an exciting week. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully next week we will have an interview. If not, we will certainly be talking more about scores, latest news, recaps, previews, all that kind of stuff. So uh, keep following us on the Twitter stuff, on social media and everything. We're certainly gonna be posting plenty of stuff here pretty soon
Mhm.
because we've been tracking some fun storylines, and we're gonna hopefully be able to talk about those here pretty soon. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of League One on the Rocks, and hopefully we will be back next week with another episode, and we'll be talking more League One action with you.
All right. Thanks, guys.